welcome you into this moment. Settle in, get comfortable. Straight spine, feet on the floor. Palms up if you wish, eyes closed if you're comfortable. And this way the body knows it's about to receive something really good. So settle in and take a few deep breaths in your own rhythm. Release any thoughts or feelings that don't bring value to this sacred moment. And prepare yourself to jumpstart your sense of wisdom and inner courage. I'm inviting you to take a journey with your soul self, a journey with your inner wisdom, your wise mind, the great knowing of who you are. Imagine life is like taking a train, a beautiful train ride to another place just for the experience. One where you just enjoy the passing scenery and never ask, are we there yet? And at some point you reach your destination, and then you eloquently move on to the next adventure, the next best place. The point of the ride is to learn along the way, knowing that journeys of learning are undertaken more for the process than for the destination. It is true we are transforming ourselves, a most worthwhile destination. So breathe here, breathe in and feel the clarity of this inner wisdom. That's it, and know that you are worthy of love, honor, and respect by virtue of your experience and your wisdom. Nurturing this relationship with your soul or inner being is the most beautiful of journeys. In fact, it is why you are here. Your soul exists on a more subtle level of consciousness than your conscious mind. And it is here where we move away from the noise and chatter of the physical world. We move toward the world of whispers that our soul resides in. Breathe in this serenity, this knowing, and feel it in your center, your core, your source, where your soul has invited you to embrace the wisdom of this very moment. This is where transformation simply unfolds. This is where the dance occurs, the dance of lifetimes. You will remember of this, I am certain. Let my words be your words. I am aware that there may be something I desire to release. And if I have found this challenging in the past, I'm aware that this moment, with my tribe, my belonging, my spiritual community, is a perfect opportunity to release and to allow. What is my desire? What is my ache to release? Silently thank this emotion, this memory, pain body, whatever it may be, and release it. Release it so as to create a space for your own truth to speak to you. You have never been in a more safe and authentic place and space to be your true self than you are in this moment, right here. It's an enchanted space where magical things happen and wonders unfold at the speed of thought. The inner wisdom is the most sacred relationship that you will ever know, the relationship with yourself. It is your birthright to connect with this place, your higher self, to connect with the divine. It is your birthright to hear the whisper of spirit. Now find that sacred space and allow spirit to speak to you and listen. Breathe. Feel the energy. Feel it in your body. It is always flowed through you and within you. And take another deep breath and embrace that. hear it. That's it. Spirit invites you, even when you are not listening, to communicate with your inner being, your inner wisdom, with the subtlest of feelings and persuasions. You are being guided and encouraged to be more of who you came here to be. It's right here inside of you. All along it has been here asking you to wake up. Give yourself permission to let your inner being, which functions at a higher vibration, to come through in this conscious awareness. It's okay. It's okay if you're not used to that. It's coming through in your daily awareness. It really means that you just haven't opened the door yet. You haven't given it permission. It's that simple. That which you have thought was not possible has simply been awaiting your invitation. Imagine that. The response promises to wake you up. After all, isn't that why we're here? Right here, in this space, in this amazing experience of life, in this sanctuary, this holy place. We're here to wake up and to live the greatest version of the grandest vision that we have ever held for ourselves in this lifetime. Yes, and say yes to that. Your wise mind, your inner wisdom extends this invitation now, and it awaits your invitation. So embrace the beauty of your soul's song and just dance, dear ones.
This is a song of my own. It's called Unafraid. I'll sing a chorus and then ask you to sing it back to me. We'll carry on from there. Everywhere I turn, every flame I burn, every wage I earn is a choice I've made. Everyone I see is connected to me. Every soul that's free chose to be unafraid with me. Everywhere I turn, yes, every flame I burn, every wage I earn is a choice I've made. Everyone I see is connected to me. Every soul that's free chose to be unafraid. I take myself to sleep in the night time, wake up with the sun in the morning, and in between those times, in my dreams, reasons and rhymes pave the way for me each day to see a new world. I live inside each hour, and when I leave it, move on to the next and embrace it too. Together, everywhere I turn, every flame I burn, every wage I earn is a choice I've made. Everyone I see connected to me. Every soul that's free chose to be unafraid. Thank you. I ride my ship of time every moment. I catch what wind there is and let it fill my sails. And underneath my boot, this sea of life keeps me afloat as I, the captain, choose my lifeboat's moves faithfully. Know the storms may come with no warning, and all I can control is how I act and feel. Everywhere I turn, every flame I burn, every wage I earn is a choice I've made. Everyone I see is connected to me. Every soul that's free chose to be unafraid. I look in toward my heart to find a reason to help explain the pain I can't identify. Slowly through the haze, I then began to fix my gaze upon a piercing thought long ago born in darkness. I call the thorn by name, it hurts to pull it, but soon the wound is healed and I am whole again. Everywhere I turn, every flame I burn, every wage I earn is a choice I've made. Everyone I see is connected to me. Every soul that's free chose to be unafraid. Every soul that's free chose to be unafraid.
Oh my gosh. Did you read my manuscript? The ship, the mainstay. Beautiful.
No, I didn't.
I know you didn't. It was spirit given. Thank you, Bruce, again. Wow. That's so perfect. I needed that. So the second mainstay, and just as a reminder, we talked about the mainstay being that foundation. It's the constant in our lives. It's the pillars, and all of the influences, the essential influences of our life revolve around these facets of our living inside this mainstay. Meaning, purpose, passion is the first. The second mainstay is bonds, relationships, and belonging. And we're going to talk about that today, also in the workshop. But what I want to introduce you to today is the three facets of our beingness that render us into our wholeness. We're always whole, but sometimes we have to find the way that feels, right? And you'll hear me always talking about feelings are the language of the soul. So I want to introduce you to the three facets of our wholeness, and they are all about relationship. We have bonds, belonging. This is a belonging, right? We have lots of tribes. Gardening tribes, music tribes, art tribes, spiritual tribes. Those things that turn our crank, stir our soul, give us God bumps. We find ways to find our belonging, and we bond inside of that, and thus create all these relationships. But the most important relationship is the relationship that we have with ourselves. The next is the relationship that we have with the divine. And then the relationship that we have with others. And why in that order? Well, I would like to say that during my work in hospice, and also I was in a training program and worked very closely with Don Morningstar and venerable women, and we talk about these relationships, and I saw them unfolding in the people that were leaving this earth and the family members that were staying. And so they were in the forefront of my mind all the time, these facets of being. So I do want to honor and mention my dear sister, Dawn Morningstar, venerable woman. So the relationship that we have with ourselves, why does that come first before the relationship with the divine? Anybody questioning me on that right now? Well, maybe not here, but other places, yes, when I talk about this. The relationship that we have with ourselves is about self-love and self-acceptance, but that comes from self-care in many other ways, many ways of self-care. We arrive at self-love through self-care. And when we arrive at self-love, we want more self-care. And not just the tangible stuff, the massages, right, the pedicures, the whatever it is that we do tangibly, physically. But this is that dance that we do with ourselves to connect with the divine. There's no better dance party you'll ever have in this lifetime than that with your own spirit. So that self relationship with the self, knowing who we are, why we do what we do, and understanding that comes through our empowerment. And traditionally, we think of power as power being handed to another, or power over. In this case, it's empowerment, inner power, that power within that makes us shine, that makes us want more of that. And how do we get that? Well, the self-care that I'm talking about is nurturing our spirit and asking two questions. How am I? How am I right now? And what does my mind, body, spirit, and heart need in this moment? Now that's just the first part of it, asking the question. We can do that, but oftentimes we don't do that because we know that the answer will come really quickly. And we are either in a mode, oftentimes, of busyness, evading or avoiding the answer. And then we feel worse because we don't do it, or we hear the answer and we just keep on going. I'm offering you an experience of empowerment that is going to connect you in a greater way with your higher self, with the divinity of who you already are. When you ask that question, what do I need right now? Locate your discomfort, acknowledge it. What do I need right now in this moment? You listen, you hear, and then you act. It could be something as simple as a glass of water. I remember when I was writing my book, I would sit for 14 hours. I would have to set an alarm or remember every hour, what do I need right now? It could be a glass of water. It could be getting down on the floor and stretching. It could be 5 minutes of meditation. Maybe it's a walk. Maybe it's a connection with Mother Nature. Maybe it's touching a tree, a phone call. But when you adhere to the voice that tells you what you need, and you do the action, you take the step to do it, you crave that. That's empowerment. You want more of that, and you will do more of that. And as you listen and ask to empower yourself, now you're moving into your relationship with your higher self more often. We all know how to get there, but how often do we do it? I mean, really, on a regular basis. We're all moving towards some level of enlightenment. We came here with the agreement to do that. And just knowing how to do that, maybe I have a tissue. I don't have a cold, but I'm so cold. Thank you. That's our relationship, moving to our higher self through our empowerment. So when we do that, we know the difference, right, between our higher self and our best self. Our highest self is when we take that moment to breathe, to catch our breath, our spiritual breath, to listen with that spiritual hearing aid, right? To drink that divine light, to replenish ourselves in the experience. We can go back and forth in the condition that I talked about last time. And the more that we do that, we decide what our boundaries are. We go up to our higher self. I like to call it the velvet room. It's my velvet room, the upper room. And in that velvet room, I connect with my virtues, my values, the things that I hold near and dear to my heart. And I bring them down into my world, into my life, into my immediate sphere of influence. And I talk that way. You walk your talk that way. You bring them down so that you can be living as your best self. And then you begin to know how to set boundaries, to enfold them, to protect them. We're going to talk about boundaries, spiritual boundaries, a little bit different kind of boundary in the workshop today as well. So now we're feeling empowered because we're listening, we're asking, we're listening, we're acting. We're doing it more and more often. We're connecting with our higher self more and more often. And that's our self-worth. Now we're identifying. Now we act on these values, and we know the depth of our worth. We know the depth of our self-worth because we're experiencing it. And when you know the depth of your worth, you no longer have to find validation outside of yourself. It's unconditional. You're in the driver's seat. And this is the place where creation and manifesting happens. And we all know what this is. When we're using our feelings and our intention and our intuition, we're trusting that. We're letting go of how it will happen, what form it will take. And we're just living in gratitude every moment along the path. And all these things just start coming in our way because we've experienced our empowerment over and over again. We're connecting with our higher self, and we know the depth of our worth. And so now we're creating. So you can see how important it is to get good with yourself, to have this deep, soulful dive in authenticity, showing up for yourself in a way that says yes every moment, eventually, every moment. And then you're creating your stage your way. You get to stand out and be the observer and create your stage your way. So let's move on to our relationship with the divine, now that we've got good with ourselves, right? How are we all feeling about that? Are you connecting with that? Yeah, because we all have questions. We question this in here. Self-acceptance. I mean, some of us don't even look at ourselves in the mirror. Good place to begin. That's all I'm going to say about that. So how we connect with our highest self and how we walk here on earth. We talk about this all the time, being one with the divine. Do we believe that? How often are we coming from our heart in that and not our head? Because we are in the human experience. It's okay. We're spiritual beings. We came here to experience this density, and that's what it is at times. It's dense. And so there are times we come out of ourselves and we're like looking for the answer outside of ourselves, right? Give me an answer. Tell me something. Oh, God, it's right here. It's inside. And that's when we realize we have this transcendent relationship. Keep bringing ourselves back to knowing that we are one with the divine. So when I say we are held by the divine, as the divine, do you believe that? Say something.
Yes.
Do you believe that? Yeah. But we move in and out of that belief, right? We've got to come in and out of our head and our heart. And the more that we do that, the more we have this practice of asking what we need. How am I and what do I need? We have this transcendent relationship that becomes something we can count on because we're actually counting on us, on ourselves. And then we have the sacred union, and when we come from this place, it's organic, it's natural. It's no longer a job. I asked you last time I was here, what does natural feel like? What does natural feel like? That's truth. Natural feels good. When you think about it, it just feels natural for me to show up like this. That's your truth. And when we're in our truth, we're in grace. When we're in grace, we step into that. Remember, it's not outside, it's right here. So you see, I keep on going back to the self. Even when you're nurturing your relationship with your higher self and on purpose deciding to be an expression of the divine, you're always getting good here in this human place. And then we connect with the divine and we walk around as an expression. We're more aware, minute by minute, that that's what we're doing. Years ago, in this very sanctuary, we were all circled up. There was about 20 of us, and we were, do you remember the Enlightened Leadership? We were creating this Enlightened Leadership, got to be 15 years ago, for sure. And we're all circled up, and we decided to introduce ourselves, and the first 3 people traditionally introduced themselves. And Lynn, and some of you remember Lynn, is standing next to me, and Lynn says, "I'm God. I'm expressing as Lynn in the world here today." And everyone in that circle went, "Wow." Not like, "Oh my God," right? It was so natural. And so I said, "I'm God. I'm expressing as Deb Mechley in the world." Everyone went around and expressed themselves that way. You would not believe. I got it again, because it stayed here in the sanctuary. It's just, the vibration was incredible till it came around to the first 3, and they all redid it and said they were God too. Try that. Say out loud, "I am God, expressed as in your name." Let's all do it together. I am God, expressed as Deb Mechley here in this world. One more time. Enthusiasm. Put your hands up, maybe. Let's do this. Come on. I am God. I'm expressed as Deb Mechley here in this world. How does that feel? That's real. That's natural. That's grace. That's the connection with the divine. That's believing how we're here, why we're here, what we're doing here, why I do what I do. No, because I can. It's okay. Right? So now we have this relationship with others. Wow, that's a biggie. Remember we talked about purpose, how we thought that was going to be the big one. It is. But think about our relationship with others and how we move through that in this world. So you can see how getting good with yourself and connecting with your higher self allows you to create a space for you to be better here inside of your relationships, to create better conversations, inspiring, delicious conversations, enhanced relationships, careers, embracing careers that you love, instead of regret from not doing something that you loved or putting yourself into that. Your prosperity, your relationship with money shifts. We inspire deep connections when we come from this place. In fact, we inspire such deep connections that people really want to be in our own presence. Yeah, what would that be like? To have the majority of your relationships just wanting to be in your presence, and you likewise. That would be really powerful. And you inspire trust. When you trust yourself and you come from that place, you start to trust the people that you meet. What would that be like? To really trust the people that we meet. When you trust somebody that you meet, you're really present with them when you're having a conversation. And then we inspire collaboration. We didn't come here to do anything alone. Right? My friend Karen? We didn't come here to do anything alone. We came here to collaborate with others, to raise the vibration and the frequency. More than ever, we are being called to raise our vibration. We don't have to go out and do this great, big, grandiose thing. Because the great, big, grandiose thing is this. It's this relationship. It's this connection that raises our vibration, our frequency. Because we came here to pay our healing forward. And that's what we're doing in our lives. Paying our healing forward. So love. Think about love. Think about love in your relationships, in your family, your friends, with yourself. How does that unfold? And imagine just love is. Just imagine that love is. It doesn't need to be earned. It's unconditional. It just is. And then we begin to embrace the circle of life. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grands. But it's bigger than that. We start to embrace our ancestors. Those before us, lifetimes before us, who circled and suffered so that we could all be here. There's a lot of healing and even forgiveness that goes on with that. And that's a workshop in and of itself, a really good one. We'll do that here one day. So with transformation, begins with ourselves, and when we transform ourselves, we transform the world. And everything that we touch, that we see, that we feel, every eye that we look into and say, I see you, every one of them. We transform through our own personal transformation. That's the big grandioso. That's why we came here, to evolve. So when we do this and we start to see people and places with a new lens, we start to hear with the ear behind the ear, or that spiritual hearing aid. We start to come into our relationships with a healed heart, and everything changes. Every hospice story is about relationships. Did you know that? Even those who have nobody. There are people who leave this world that never had children, never married, or maybe married, their spouse is gone, siblings are gone, friends are gone. But they all have relationships. They have this one here, the one with themselves. In fact, their relationship with themselves and the divine is so enhanced at the end of life. It's enlightenment. It's true enlightenment when we leave. And of course, the caregivers. It's all about relationship. Everything we do here, we'll never escape it. And we wouldn't want to. We wouldn't want to. So what you're really doing is creating this space for spirit to speak. You're listening, you're empowering yourself, you're finding your self-worth, you're continually in your spiritual practice. It's consistent. That's a key, consistency. And then there's transformation. And you're actually setting a stage for your end of life, for no regrets. You're living better in the gap of all things, birthing in, birthing out. This whole gap of living, this is the secret sauce. This is what we're doing here. And you're setting yourself up for regret-free living when you do that. More of that in the book. So I want to read you something as we're on this subject of dealing with our relationship with ourselves. The mindset is the best drama machine around. It's portable. It runs day and night, even and especially when we're not aware of it or paying attention. It is infinitely expandable and requires only imagination to operate. It cranks out some of the best stories around. Just feed it a few tidbits of hearsay, half-truths, some emotional charge and some childhood memories. The more traumatic, the better. And the viola is playing. You're cooking baby with fire. How we relate to all of these pieces of our lives can be challenging, to say the least. After all, we surely have expectations of how others in our life should be conducting themselves and connecting with us. Well, I have to ask, how's that working for you? Not to be flip, but this can be quite the juggling act. So here we are, inside and on the outside of dozens, possibly hundreds of relationships and acquaintances, only to find ourselves in overwhelm and overload. Maybe you have found yourself, just as I have, asking, who should I be here? What's the expectation? Can I live with this? Should I live with this? And why are people not adding up to my expectations? What do I need right now, in this moment, from myself, for myself? What do I need? The list of questions goes on and on when you think of the number of relationships that we encounter in our lifetime. The thought in and of itself is overwhelming. Well, guess what? You will never stop meeting people, having conversations, or expectations. Actually, that last one, expectations, you can curb that. In fact, expectation is one of the culprits that scams our relationships. Check it out as you get acquainted with the third mainstay of your beingness and the spiritual pain that will surely show up and ask for free admission. So I just want to talk a little bit about the workshop today. I hope that you can come. It's going to reveal this relationship with the self. We'll talk about some empowerment, boundaries, self-worth, transformation, meditation, do a little deeper dive, and some great takeaways. Last time was awesome. Thank you for coming, and the sharing was very powerful. It was very uplifting. So I hope to see you there at 11:30. And I'd like to close with something I wrote for you. It's called, It's All About You. It's all about you. What really matters? What's really important? Why bother? Who cares? What's it all for anyway? You. You. It's all about you. What you like and dislike. What you want and don't want. What makes you smile and laugh and brings you joy. What makes you learn and grow. What stirs your soul. And what brought you here today? Selfish? How else could you shine your light? How else could you possibly hope to lift the world? How else could you be all that we, the world, dreamed that you might be? So go now, take your inspirations and create movement with them. Get passionate, I dare you. You are everything you need, and you have everything you need within. You always have, and no matter what, you always will. And the greatest part of that is that you don't have to dig so deep to find the great stuff. So take your desire, feel it in your bones, and know that now the universe is holding with open hands all of it for you. All there is to do is to line your desires with that which has already been created through your thoughts and your inspiration. How beautifully selfish of me. You got this.